bass ambient, dark ambient, drone ambient, experimental. All these different types of ambient music have one subgenre that can tie them all together, and that's the long form. So long form ambient is the type of music that starts one place and it goes way out into the future, but holds your attention the entire time. So you have different types of techniques and ideas that are introduced to immerse you in this world called the long form ambient. All right, so in today's video, we're gonna go over another full track walkthrough from start to finish, and I'm gonna go over the different synthesis techniques you could use, the different effects processing, and just get you guys in the frame of mindset to think about the long form ambient track. All right, so if you like this kind of video, make sure you smash that like button on the way in, subscribe to the channel if you guys feel called to do so, and let's make some long form ambient. All right, so here we are inside of Ableton Live 11. Now, before I start, I want to give a shout out to an artist on Synphaera. His name is Arjun Shat, and he released his first album with us on Synphaera earlier this year. It's called Manifolds. And I want to encourage you guys to listen to this record. And the reason why is this album to me represents a full masterclass in long form ambient. When he proposed the album to us like later last year, it was more like, okay, we kind of didn't understand what the overall vision and goal was, especially with an album that was only going to be a couple different tracks. It's only 3 tracks, and each track is around 25 minutes. And when I finally heard the final product, it was like my mind opened up to a whole new realm of possibilities, because I didn't realize how well it would come together in only 3 tracks when he has 3 different distinct ideas and they're all like evolving over time. So go listen to the album. Again, it's called Manifolds by Arjun Shat. It's on Synphaera. And it's a very experimental but wonderfully put together release. So that's the first thing. All right. So we're going to talk about long form ambient today. And I have a syllabus here. So we're going to talk about our syllabus. And what we're going to do is we're going to kind of go through all of these different sections. And then hopefully by the end of it, like what your approach could be when you're approaching long form ambient. All right. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to talk about using textural elements to create spaces. Now, what I mean by that is, when you have different synthesis methods that you can use, sometimes you can like layer them on top of each other to create different spaces. So for example, you can have like a really nice warm analog tone and then, you know, put some granular stuff on top of that. And then that could create a different space. And then as you pull things back and move things in, it could create these different spaces. And then you can use that over time to create something that's long form, okay? The second thing is building up momentum and stripping away. Something that happens in Manifolds a lot is like he'll have a sequence, and that sequence will generate, and then it'll keep adding to itself over time. And by within 10 minutes, you're like, oh my God, that's the same sequence that I heard 10 minutes ago, but it's so much more evolved and elaborate now. So that's one thing that I want to talk about, which is really a hard thing to do, especially over the long term. But it's possible. So we'll talk about that. Having a long thought frame of mind, developing ideas that take a while to come together. That's the whole mentality behind this, behind long form ambient. And then using different synthesis methods to further create auditory interest. All right. So in the technique section, we're going to talk about granular synthesis, sample processing, and spectral wavetable morphing. Now that's a fancy word for something you can do in Vital and Serum very easily. They call it spectral morphing, which is like when you take a waveform and then you're morphing the spectral waveform of it at a spectral level, like across the frequency spectrum. But you can do that in Vital in a really like long form way, where you can do it over 16 bars. And then if your tempo is slow enough, like this is something that's gonna like really morph and evolve with your patch. So it takes just a normal pad and makes something that's really, you could lay it out over the course of a couple minutes. And then by the end of it, you'd have a different result. All right. Additional processing techniques. We're going to go over that in a second. Software and or hardware, looping devices and sound repeaters. I thought I might use the pedal board today. We may or may not, but either way, the pedal board to me is a really wonderful experimental playground, especially when I have pedals like the Mood and Microcosm, my 2 absolute favorite pedals ever. Those 2 pedals alone have really opened me up to new possibilities as far as building up textures and sound repeats that go, and we can evolve those using other effects. And then using automation to make changes over time. That's something that's really interesting to me, is that you can see the overall picture in the timeline and then start making automation changes in your effects or in your synthesizers that evolve and change over the long form. So the last thing we're gonna talk about is setting your goals, intention behind the track. Why would you create long form? This is more like writing a longer book, or even like painting on a larger canvas. So your intention behind the track, and then focusing on the details, not losing focus of the overall picture, especially when you're doing something. So we're not just throwing sounds on a timeline and hoping that it all comes out in the end. We're focusing on the details of each section, but not losing focus of the overall picture. Again, something that is really well demonstrated in manifolds. And then creating identity through our sonic palette. So we're using the same tools, but at the same time, we're creating our own. We're not losing focus of our own sonic identity while we're doing something that's different from what we normally do. And then pushing the creative limits to what we can do. So we're pushing ourselves even further by thinking outside the box and saying, well, what if I made a track that was, say, 15 minutes? That would be something that would really push me as a producer. So, all right, anyway, here we go. So what I've done first, I've sort of like got my mind going by taking an instance of Borderlands and then pitching some textures to the same pitch, and then throwing those into Borderlands, and then using, granular synthesis to kind of make this texture. So I'm gonna use that as my base here. Now, here it is right here. And I'm gonna chop off the first, 2 minutes, because I think the best stuff is like right here towards the end. I'll chop off like the end. And then I'm just gonna take these handles, these little volume handles, and sort of like spread them out so we have a nice long, evolving texture. Now I'm gonna turn down the volume here, and then we'll put this into the pad bus, and let's just take a listen to this real quick. So this is what I created in Borderlands before we started. And it was like, I used about maybe 10 to 12 different samples, and I used a couple different points of granular. If you guys don't know what Borderlands is, or you haven't watched that video yet, it's on my channel. You guys can go check that out either before or after this, whatever. You can check it out, and I explain what Borderlands can do. And so this is what I created, right? Now, what I'd like to do with this is, it's nice, right? And you can hear there's a lot going on, but what I want to do is I want to use an instance of Supermassive here. And this is really going to open things up. So I'm going to switch the mode to something other than Gemini. Let's go Andromeda. It says long reverb, repeating echoes, long decay, slow attack. That's perfect. I mean, that sounds great. So I'm going to up the warp here to about maybe 70%. Turn down the mod rate a little bit, and the depth, and I'll leave the feedback where it is. And now let's listen to this. All right. And now you can hear there's like a lot more like space there. Supermassive is like, let's up the delay to like, yeah, around 500 milliseconds. That's nice. Okay, the mix is at 50%. If we up this even more, that's gorgeous. 64% mix. Perfect. All right, cool. So with a free plugin, 2 free plugins, Borderlands, the original, is free, and then Supermassive, wow. Okay, there we go. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna duplicate this track, okay, and then I'm just gonna move this over, and because I adjusted those volume handles, now we have something that is longer. We have like a 12.5 minute thing here, and when these two run into each other, one's gonna fade in, one's gonna fade out, but we have 2 instances of the same track. And we can obviously automate the volume here, and we could like bring the texture in and bring it out. But think about it, like we're creating something long form here. What could be more perfect than a bed of sonic gorgeous texture, especially with Supermassive attached to it? That's where we're starting today. Okay, so long form ambient. Now, where could we go with this? That's what I want you guys to think about. Like, where could we go? What is your mind here when you get into this mode? You're like, oh my gosh, like, what now? Where are we? Are we in another world? Are we exploring a different aspect inside of our soul? I mean, there's so many different things that you could imagine at this moment in time. Okay? So think about that when you're creating sounds for something like this. You want to evolve something over time, and it has to be something that is concrete that you can latch onto. Okay? An idea, an emotion, a place, whatever it is. Okay? So the next thing I want to do is, on our syllabus, I have additional processing techniques, software, hardware. One of the coolest things that I've been using, like, as of the last couple days, and I'm just being honest here. Like, I learn new stuff all the time, and I always I'm exploring different software and things like that. One of the coolest things that I've found is a really fun use of inside of Ableton Live 11. There's a plugin called Treetone. Okay, it's with the Inspired by Nature. It's brand new in Ableton Live 11, and I started thinking to myself, well, I mean, I downloaded Ableton Live 11 on day one, and I didn't even touch this stuff. And then all of a sudden, I was like, wait a minute, that's in there. Okay, so download the pack, and here we go, right? So let's just explore Treetone for a minute. Now, what is Treetone? Treetone is a really trippy, it's a generator. It's an organic algorithmic sound thing. I mean, it's Treetone, right? So it has two ways you can generate sound in it, either using the noise oscillator, I'm going to do that in air quotes here, or the rain oscillator, okay? So I'm going to turn on the noise, because that's just it adds a bunch of resonance that maybe we already kind of have that texture, and I'm going to turn up the rain here, okay? And what this is going to do is going to allow us to have these little points of sound. And then I'm hit the scale mode. Now I know for a fact that this texture is in F sharp. So I'm going to switch my tonic here to F sharp, and then switch it to minor. Okay. And I'm going to lower the tuning down, meaning I'm going to give it a lower volume. And then I'm going to take the filter down so we can focus on a certain tonal range. And let's see how this sounds. So this is Treetone on top of Treetone. And then I'm up the decay here to 75%. Now, Treetone, what this is doing is simulating raindrops. And these branches are like different resonators. And so it's pointing and hitting the resonators on these branches, again in air quotes, right? And you can just click on the tree and we're gonna get a different tree. Check it out. How cool is that, right? And we can adjust the tuning here. There, that one. Let's go with that, okay? Now I did this because I wanted you guys to hear, these are almost sine waves, right? You can hear what the randomized sine waves would do on top of that texture, okay? So I'm gonna up my send reverb, which is again the Valhallas, and the delay. Maybe turn on the gain here on my utility plugin. And now we have a whole different sonic, it's almost like an event. It's a layer. We're creating auditory interest with the sounds that we're adding into our song. Okay. So here we go. I'm gonna put this in the synth bus. And I'm gonna leave Treetone doing its thing, okay? I'm not gonna freeze it, because in order to capture the audio, you have to capture it with an audio track. I'm just gonna leave Treetone there. Treetone's cool. Anyway, if you guys have Ableton Live 11, don't miss these things. There is Treetone, and the other cool one I found is Bouncy Notes. Let's just do it right now. Let's just use Bouncy Notes right now. So this is gonna be Inspired by Nature. All right, so here we go. Let's use Bouncy Notes right here and now. All right, now what is Bouncy Notes? Bouncy Notes is like this, using gravity to create different MIDI-like sequences, okay? Now here down at the bottom, you have, again, a range, and then you have chromatic. You can pick all these different scales, okay? So we know we're in F sharp minor. We're gonna change the range down to something a little more palatable, maybe 32. or whatever, okay? And then if I hit auto, this is just gonna start giving us some bouncy notes, right? So it's gonna start bouncing these things. That way they have a lifetime. They can either live for 4 notes. We have 16 voices here. So those are gonna come in. Now I can up the lifetime here to like, I don't know, 12. And then up the voice count here. It's gonna get pretty crazy pretty fast, okay? But since I've set the scale, what this is doing is it's triggering notes. Now watch what happens when I add, say, an instance of vital here. All right, that's kind of crazy. So I'm gonna turn that down and put this through the pad bus, but look what happens when I add like a patch, say from anomaly, okay? Let's add this, and now let's hear what it sounds like. Check this out. Wait for it. I'm gonna up the start here to, there. Look what we done did. So now we have these notes that are coming in and they're triggering inside of a scale, okay? You can adjust the speed, gravity, and mass of these. The friction, all right? You can quantize them. I've even gone as far as like making something really sequenced. It's kind of cool. But you can hear what it's doing. Check it out. It's almost making a pad texture out of all these different notes. Now let's lower the voice count to like 12. But listen to that. That's a drone. But it's a different texture, right? Let's change the pad sound here. Something a little more CPU friendly. We'll go with Starseed. Ooh, that's too much. Iconic. We're really smashing the CPU here. All right, let's go to draft. We might have to freeze it. I like that though. Ooh, that's gorgeous. All right, let's rename it Starseed. And let's freeze it. Let's do it. All right, we're back. Now, that took a while. I had to stop and freeze the whole thing, but you know what? It was totally worth it. Check this out. So what we have here, the result of that frozen Bouncy Notes MIDI is this. Another gorgeous texture to lay on top of what we already have. So now listen to it layered on top of everything else. You see? It's that interplay between the granular stuff and now that vital pad with the bouncy notes and the Treetone. Now we've really built something up here. And you can feel like as soon as this enters, because now what I've done is I put some really long volume automation. This takes almost 3 minutes to evolve into something else, right? So it's like that one space opens up, and then this is like easily coming into focus. And something that Flo mentioned on the stream the other day, I'm gonna stop the music and say this: developing a sonic depth of field. That is a crazy concept. I'll probably make another video about it, but I love that. I love the phrase because it makes so much sense, especially when you're talking about this kind of ambient, sonic depth of field. Okay, so let's go back to our syllabus so we don't lose focus. All right, so we've demonstrated granular synthesis. We've now processed that sample. We haven't done the spectral wavetable morphing, but we can do that in a digital patch. Additional processing techniques. We showed you the bouncy notes and the Treetone, and we're thinking about long form, long frames of mind. Okay, so we're building a momentum, we're stripping away. Now let's talk about if we could even wrap our minds around a sequence. Okay, so we have 3 more MIDI tracks here. I'll add a couple more just for safety reasons. And then what we're gonna do is we're gonna develop a sequence here that evolves with the track, okay? Now this could be, if you could make this a pure ambient track, like it doesn't need to have a sequence, it doesn't need to have something like that, but if you've listened to Manifolds already, or you're going to listen to it, in that album, you're gonna find that there are a lot of sequences in it, which are long form sequences that take you on a trip. Like they become integral to the track itself. And that to me is very exciting. So you can do this a number of different ways. You could draw them in by hand and then just evolve something over time. Like we could like take like a simple idea and that could be as simple as like a 8-bar loop or something where it's just like boom, bing, boom, 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 boom. So we could try doing that. I mean, I just kind of made something up there, but switch the scale to F sharp minor, put the scale button on. We could go into eighth notes. Boom, 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 boom. Now you have to have your synth set, obviously. I'm not just gonna run this into a blank instance of Vital. So let's go ahead and set up something real quick. We'll go here and make the factory. We'll go basic shapes and we'll lower this oscillator as well. And what we can do is on the third oscillator, we can turn this down. We can choose another waveform. Let's just say something from Anomaly. That's cool. And then on oscillator 1, we will go FM from oscillator 3, and then we'll get some FM modulation going with this, which is it's going to be a nice little like addition to our basic waveform here. And then we'll get like that. We'll just kind of lower the attack down, take the sustain off, and we'll open to the filter here and then attach envelope 2, which we're going to give it a sharp decay onto here. And let's see what that sounds like. Okay, cool. That's cool. So that little bit of FM. So what we're doing is, if FM stands for frequency modulation, if you didn't know, FM into the wave morph slot inside of this little sawtooth waveform. And because this is inaudible, we're getting a nice pure FM there. So now let's draw in some notes. Let's see here. We're gonna take our B key on the keyboard, and here we go. We'll turn on the headphone button, and let's go to F sharp. Let's make a boom, and then boom, and then boom, boom, boom. Yeah, boom, boom. And then boom, boom, boom. All right, we'll bring that back just one more. There we go. Okay, we'll start with that, right? But then you add a bunch of delay to it, and listen to what it's gonna sound like. Now we can dial that delay in. We can make it a doom, boom, 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 boom. All right, you can also try taking that down a whole octave, so we can try doing that. I like that. I like that. I like that a lot. So let's just go with that, and we will duplicate this. And now what we can do is start adding notes to this. So I'm going to be very cautious on how I handle this. So I'm going to say, all right, this is one idea, okay? And I'm just gonna go Control J. Now what Control J did, it joined all of those together. Boom. And then we'll let this, okay, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna set the loop, and that's a 4-bar loop. Okay, cool. So we'll extend it to 8 bars. And like I said, there's your simple 8-bar loop, right? And we can have this fade in. Now I want you to think about that loop that we just created as something that's going to change and evolve over time. But then I'm also like, I sort of like sang that because I was like, well, what if all of a sudden a lead sound or something else came in here that was complementary to that sequence, okay? So let's think about something like, I don't know, Star Seeker, right? So, okay, turn on the pad bus, lower this down. That's what I was singing. That's the note I was singing. Listen. Real minimal stuff. We're creating atmosphere, a sonic depth of field. Cool. All right, so there we go. So now I have an idea of where those notes are falling, okay? All right, nice, 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 nice. So maybe even something that like evolves over time, over 2 bars. Doesn't have to be crazy, all right? Let's lengthen this out to like 32 bars right here. Okay, and we'll start drawing these in, all right? Let's use our pencil tool and then like this, and then we'll erase any mistakes that we made. Could be happy accidents, not mistakes, and then a mistake. All right, so here we go, boom. We'll check this out to where we said we have a 32 bar loop here. Perfect, all right? And then here we go, we'll just copy that. You can just copy that note and drag it over. Cool, so that's 8 bars, 3 notes over 8 bars. Nice. And then let that keep going. And then B, and then C. All right, bam. And at 65, now what if we introduced another, like something else? You know what I'm saying? Like, what if now it evolves? What if now it's a boom? And what if it reverses? And the first one is now the reverse, okay? So now we're introducing something that's like, wait a minute, your mind, because it's such a subtle change that your mind was like, wait a minute, that was that before. Right? And so this is the kind of thing I'm trying to introduce, which is these subtle, almost like it's a trick of the mind, because we're making long form ambient here. We're building something that's going to evolve over time. So we're using these, we're building up momentum, but at the same time, we're stretching those ideas out. And so we're gonna do something that's long form, okay? And not focusing on the details, but not losing focus of the overall picture, okay? So that's really cool. Now, one thing that I talked about was automation over time, right? And one thing you can do here is, I just thought of this, it's like we could automate, let's fill in a couple more notes here before we go any further. So we'll put that way out there. And put that one way out there. There we go. So that's kind of like a thing, right? And this can obviously come in, like we can fill in more notes later. Let's just leave it open-ended, okay? So one thing that I was gonna talk about was automating different changes over time to create like more further auditory interest, right? So if you hit A in Ableton Live here, A key, if you hit A in Ableton Live, or just go into the hit the automation button. So let's now start automating the mixer level or the delay signal. So watch this. If we move this up ever so slightly, what it's gonna do, it's gonna add more delay over time. Now let's just go to where it gets more dramatic. Right? So as this sequence changes, now we're introducing a delay that's variable. So that delay could come in, it could fall in, it could go out again. So look, we could like bring it down once more and then have it really come up all the way to its peak, somewhere around here. And if you look at the overall timeline, and we're talking about something that's going over the course of like 10 minutes, right? So that delay is coming in and out. This is one of the coolest things that I think you can do to like really change up a sequence. Now let's talk about the third sequence. So here we have the third one. We've evolved to this, and here we are here. Boom. Boom. Or we could do a shorter note there. Let's try that. I like that. I like that. So I'm gonna do a shorter. So if these are eighth notes, that would be an introduction of a 16th note. Okay. And that would be before right here. I'm just gonna copy that over, copy to here. There we go. And you hear that delay is increased now. We switch back to our automation lane, but now it's falling away. I like that. I like that a lot. Okay, so now so now that we've kind of set the stage here, I love this. I love that sequence because that now is hitting all the points that I wanted to. It's introducing those ideas about focusing on the details, but not losing focus of that overall picture, all right? What are our intentions behind this track? Well, you can hear it quite clearly now. Now we're on a journey. We're developing something over a long period of time to create magic, ambient magic, right? All right, cool. So now let's introduce another final like finishing touch, if you will. I'm not even gonna go into finishing touches here, but like you know, like it'll be something that's gonna really take this track to a whole nother level. All right, so let's go. We could design something from scratch here, or we could take something that's already pre-baked. So we have Eternia here, which has some really cool, this is one of my favorite patches from Eternia, Fields of Light. Eternia, by the way, is available at material.bandcamp.com, created by yours truly. And you hear those? That matches. Right, we can keep this going. Ooh, did you hear that? Did you hear that? Okay, so what happened there is I accidentally hit a key. I was playing the pad, but at the same time, like boom, boom. Oh my gosh. Yeah, see, this is what I'm talking about. Now we have a real, something is really changing in the sequence. And to the mind, that's like, what? Wait a minute, what? Right? Like it's now added further interest to what we're doing. Okay, so let's go back to Fields of Light. Nice. love that. I can't emphasize enough how important it is to stay minimal, okay? Especially when you're laying something out that's so long. So you really want to be conscious of that sonic depth of field and create something that has room for all the elements to intermingle, if you will, and come together, okay? But we're, again, if this is long-form signs of life, or long-form Synphaera, right? We're trying not to lose focus here. Let's go back to that vital patch. Let's actually, you know what I was gonna do? I was gonna say is we could use the LFO here. Now this is something that I talked about in our syllabus, was taking, using spectral wavetable morphing, okay? But what we can do here, let's just do a simple example of like something that morphs a long time. It takes 16, you can, the highest you can go is 32. So let's go 16 and we will evolve our filter over time, okay? So let's just go like that and we'll go like this, and it's gonna take a long time for this filter to reach its peak. That's perfect, that's what we want. You lower it down. Let's put a compressor on this. I love that. Turn on the FM. Nice. We can also automate the reverb here. Well, and then you know what? Let's actually go back in time. Let's de-evolve this, and then there we go. Haha. There we go, right? So then you have something that's evolved, grown, and now it's coming back down. Evolution and de-evolution. Building up and breaking it down. Okay, I'm gonna lay down some of this in here. All right, we're reaching a peak here. And we've done all of this in the course of, I don't know, 45 minutes or something, right? All right, we'll turn off the grid and let's lay in some notes here by hitting the right arrow key. Okay. There we go. I'm just holding the right arrow key, by the way. There we go, like that. And we'll stop it right there. And we can duplicate that. Cool. Turn that down a little bit. Got a nice sequence there. And then we can just kind of fill the rest of this out. We could either do it with something like Bouncy Notes. Like I was thinking about this. Like Bouncy Notes is so cool in the way that you could like, you can lay in a bunch of stuff here, and we could just do this like this and just turn off this fixed grid and then just kind of paint in here. By the way, I've said this in a past video too, but if you just click and hold and then drag up and down, you get the velocity level. So we want a nice lower velocity since we're going super minimal. And like you were painting, right? Being conscious of your key here, that's a second note, right? We don't want to do that again. Let's do, there we go. Right. And then we'll give it a nice solid bass here. Ooh, I just thought of something. We could actually bring in another bass. We can bring in a bass element here at the end. Oh my God, that'd be powerful. Listen to that though. This is cool. There we go. There's a lot there. Like your mind is completely like in this. At least for me, like when we created this, it was like we really did create a whole new space. And with that solid boom, 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 I love it. Okay, so let's talk about our final thoughts here. We have all of these different texture elements to create these spaces, right? We've built up momentum, we've stripped it away, especially with that sequence that we added, a long thought frame of mind. Going back to the sequences, I really want to mention is in manifolds, a lot of this stuff is in complete 3D space, okay? So one of the things I was gonna do with Treetone, we still have Treetone up here, don't forget about this, okay? So we can, as soon as you like break this down, we can almost pan this. In Ableton Live, they have something called an auto pan. And we could put this on Treetone. We could set it to random and turn up the amount here and then turn the rate to notes. And we could actually pan this, in different space. Listen to this. So now we're creating almost a 3D audio effect using Treetone and the auto pan. Yes, I love it. Okay, now the last thing I want to do, let's go back to our syllabus again. Okay, the last thing. Okay, so the last thing I want to do here is I want to talk about setting our goals. We've built this track up. Why did we create this track? Because we're trying to express something. We're trying to invite your listeners into something, into a world that's long form. That's the whole reason. We've focused in on those details without losing track. We've created an identity and we're pushing the creative limits of what we can do, okay? So that's what long form ambient is today. In this moment, in this ideal, like we're creating something. Now, the last thing I wanna do here is I really wanna push this home with something of a lower frequency pad, okay? And that pad is going to drive this track towards its completion or its like moment, right? And let's pick up something very specific. Like let's not just randomly do this. I have an idea in mind and I want to get there. So we could take a bass pad. Let's see here. All right, we found it, Space Dock. So let's go with Space Dock, right? And what I want to do is I want to kind of move some of these low notes in and out over a long period of time. And bring it home. Yes. So let's draw in those notes right here. Right here, okay? So this is what? 16 bars, okay? And we'll go 1 bar and we'll just, that's a D1. 4 bars there, okay? We'll duplicate that. We'll bring it up to E. And then we'll do that and make this 8 bars. Now that's it's a long, slow evolving pad. And we can adjust the filter on it too. that's nice. Yes. Cool. All right, and then our final element. Serum. All right? Our final element. Yes, we'll do something a little higher. Think long-term, long-form ambient here, folks. And you reach that peak. Add some of that vibrato. And then perfect. Hit record new on the push, and there you go. All right, you got your notes there. All of our performance perfectly captured. There we go. You know, I'm so tempted to put like one of those vital sequences in here. I'm really tempted. Why not? It might actually bring something together that we never thought of. So let's try it. All right, so what I've done here is I've flattened this track, and then we're gonna bring it in here at the end. And I'm automating the volume so it kind of reaches this peak when this other track reaches a peak. So it's all coming together, right? The whole thing comes together at this moment. Yes. Yes. That's what I'm talking about. So we've built this entire track up, and now here we are. Look at this. Wow. 13 and a half minutes. Yet it seems to hold your attention, right? Where's that automation going? Oh, let's check it out. Where's our delay automation? Ooh, yeah, it's all over the place. Let's bring it back. So that could go to here. There you go, fix that automation a little bit. Oh, perfect. Yep. And it'll come off, yeah, perfect. Subtle adjustments here. There you go, there you go. And that final pad. Wow. What a moment. Yes! Oh my goodness. All right, let's head back in one more time and we'll wrap this up. And we'll talk about our syllabus at the same time. So, what did we really accomplish here? I showed you guys exactly what it takes to think with long thoughts and move over the period of time in a methodical way with your ambient music that brings the listener on a journey with you. So we're not just talking about the immediacy of new information. It's almost like you have to wait for it and wait for it to evolve. Kind of like life. Life does this too, where it's like you have this, anyway, it doesn't really matter. The point is that we're making long form ambient that has a long thought frame of mind. We're developing ideas that take a while to come together. We use different synthesis methods to get there. Textural elements to create spaces, granular synthesis, sample processing, spectral morphing. We didn't even get into the pedal board, like I said, but it doesn't matter. This was just the beginning. This is like tip of the iceberg stuff, but at the same time, you really saw how I took you on this journey, right? We brought something together over the long term, okay? And that's what it's all about. And we've also set our goals. We set our goal to make long form, and we accomplished that goal. We focused in on those little subtle changes, but those little subtle changes on the overall picture really made a big difference. Creating our identity through our sonic palette and pushing the creative limits of what we can do. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you guys enjoyed this video, make sure to let me know in the comments down below if you have any further thoughts or ideas about creating long form ambient, or any ideas of future videos that you guys want to see. That's what this channel is here to do, to help you get better at ambient music, inform, inspire you, educate you. Signs of life. As always, keep your heads in the clouds and your feet planted firmly on the ground. Thank you again so much for watching today, and I'll see you guys in the next one.